Valorant's next agent is likely coming in Act 3, which is just over a month away, so today I want to take a look at and compile everything we know so far about who they are based on all the leaks, in-game lore, and official information that we've already received. The first leak we got about Agent 21 was all the way back on June 25th, when ValorLeaks tweeted that the new agent's codename would be Mage, and at this time, it was believed by the majority of people that Mage would be a controller, since we'd gone over a year without one being added into the game. Now, there were supposed ability leaks for Agent 21 that did turn out to be fake, however I do want to mention them still, not only because it's pretty funny how many people fell for it, including myself, but also one of the leaked abilities actually lines up with the lore in-game, so stick around until later in the video if you want to see that connection. Before I continue though, I want to mention the sponsor of this video, Omega Strikers. Omega Strikers just released today on Steam, and it's like a mix of Rocket League and Super Smash Bros. It's 3v3 and character based, so it's a playstyle for everyone, whether you want to be scoring all the goals, knocking the enemy out of the arena, or sitting back and playing goalie. My favorite character to play so far is Juno. Her abilities spawn in these little blobs that you can use to make combos with, and even as a new player, it's pretty easy to get a lot of value out of her kit. There's also going to be a new character released every 2 weeks after launch, so there'll always be something new to try. Mega Strikers is currently in closed beta on Steam, but you can get access by watching streamers with drops enabled, so I'll be streaming over the next few days, so you guys can have more chances of getting a beta key. Massive thanks to Omega Strikers for sponsoring this video. You can try it out for yourself by clicking the link in the description. So one leaked ability in particular was very interesting. This one called Bubble, as it was essentially a dome smoke that bullets wouldn't be able to shoot through. So it was an interesting concept that was quickly dismissed when the creator revealed it was fake. But then a few days later, this voice message got added into Valorant.
Here's the weird thing though. I fished up these spent bullets from the water, fired west-east. But they're not scattered like you would expect. They dropped in a semicircle. Clearly, they were aimed at the same target, so you would expect some grouping. But this is too uniform. I don't know.
So Sky found these spent bullets dropped in a semicircle, almost as if they'd been shot at some sort of barrier, or maybe an impenetrable bubble. It's likely we won't know for another few weeks whether this was just a coincidence between the leak and the voice message, but either way, it's something to think about. We also got this voice message from Omen, which describes some of the new agent's abilities.
I've spied on their camp. The operatives speak of towering walls of water, waves crashing through their ranks, and the fugitive facing down a dozen men at once. The reports match the evidence at the scene. Intense flooding everywhere, but no water source nearby.
So the new agent is going to be able to use water-based abilities with no water source nearby, and these are going to be powerful abilities too, as they apparently cause intense flooding and were described as towering walls of water. So this is likely a tease that they'll have some sort of water wall as a competition for Viper's Wall. So that's what this agent can do, but what about who they are? Thankfully there's already some lore in game for that as well. Based on emails to Brimstone from the other agents, we know that the new agent's real name is Varun Buttra, although their agent name is still unknown. Varun worked for an organization called Realm, which specialized in dealing with priceless artifacts. However, it's rumored that he stole one of these artifacts and is now considered a fugitive. I say rumored because the most recent email has Sky actually doubting whether they were being lied to or not, so he could just be innocent and being framed. The fact that he works with artifacts is important too, as we have this player card in the battle pass, which has some sort of object surrounded by water at the center, which many believe to be one of these priceless artifacts, maybe the one that they're saying he stole. This is also the player card teasing Agent 21, so there's got to be a connection between the two somehow. Additionally, this artifact, or something that very closely resembles it, can be seen in an official teaser recently released by Valorant. This picture alone is filled with references to Indian culture like the food and location, so it's almost certain that the new agent will be from India. Alongside this image, Riot spoke vaguely of the new character with an abundance of puns about water, so there's even more confirmation from Riot themselves that the new agent will use water-based abilities. They also left a little note in Hindi at the bottom of this text saying "see you soon" in that language, so more confirmation that they'll be Indian. Based on FaZe release, we can expect an announcement of the agent's name and more in around 3 weeks time, but that's assuming they followed the exact same pattern as they did with Fade. Now I do want to sort of predict what will happen with Agent 21 in terms of what their abilities will be like and what maps and things like that they'll be good on. So under the assumption that they'll have a wall, obviously they're going to take some of Viper's pick rate and quite possibly replace her on some maps. Think of like how Chamber replaced Jet or how Fade replaced Sova. Agent 21 will probably be good on Icebox and Breeze, and on more maps with the second controller, like how you'll see some pro teams running Viper and Astra on Pearl, Bind, stuff like that. But to take it a step further than that, I expect the new controller to have either flashes or stuns, because that's sort of missing from the controller class right now. Like, yeah, we have Omen's Flash and Ashe's Concuss, but there's still a room for a lot more, and I'd love a controller that you could play more aggressively. And now this idea is almost entirely the opposite of what I just said, but there's also a chance they'll have a healing ability. Obviously Valorant isn't quite like Overwatch where a healer is necessary, but a controller with a heal is something that we don't have, and maybe it's something that Riot will experiment with, since controllers are normally centered around playing with the team anyway. So to recap what we know so far, Agent 21's codename in the game files is Mage, their real name is Varun Butra, but we don't know what their agent name will be yet. They're a controller who uses water-based abilities, as they're probably a Radiant, and one of these abilities will be a wall similar to Viper's. They'll release with Episode 5 Act 3, and we'll probably get more teasers in the meantime, so keep an eye on Valorant's Twitter.